Hi, my name is Chanel Bolden. I attend Texas Tech University, and I'm here to show you guys my personal narrative project. I am an interdisciplinary human sciences major with concentrations in addictive disorders and recovery studies, human development and family studies, and health professions. I also have a minor in biology, so hopefully you guys enjoy my presentation. So first we're going to start with this presentation by defining integrative studies. Integrative studies is the application of the knowledges gained from being an interdisciplinarian in order to solve complex problems like homelessness. A key necessity for integrative studies is integration. Integration is the combination of not only your life experience, but also your academic disciplines, which helps you form a well-rounded knowledge of a broad subject. Next, we're going to talk about my history. So we're going to start all the way at the beginning when I was born. My mother had me at the age of 18. So because of that young age of having me, she had to kind of halt her college career to raise me. And since my parents were of a low socioeconomic status, my dad decided to go join the Army at the age of 23. So because of that, my mother and I traveled all over the world to be close to him, which I really appreciate. And we live in places like Germany and El Paso and all kinds of places. So while we were in El Paso, my mother and I were together, and we had my younger sister, Shakaya. I was 5 at that time. So after El Paso, my dad became disabled. He became a disabled veteran, and we decided to settle in Grand Prairie, Texas, because my mom found a good job there. So there we also, at the age of 9, my parents also had my youngest sister, Shanice. After that, my parents' marriage kind of ended due to just differences, nothing serious. But all in all, I had a wonderful childhood, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So according to Bateson, new experiences modify existing ideals, affirm existing self-identities, develop new self-identities, and encourage growth and a gain of new knowledge. So I believe that all these new experiences have helped me learn who I am as a person. For example, when I was in Germany, when my dad was deployed, I was able to learn the culture. We went to all these castles when I was like, 5, 3, like something like that. And I had a babysitter who used to teach me German. Do I know German now? I do not, but I used to know German. So all those experiences in a different country where things are so much different than America, it allowed me to grow so much more than just being being a regular like kindergartner in America. So because of my experiences, I firmly believe that this is why students decide to go study abroad, because the discontinuity of leaving America and studying in a different place and experiencing different things, it helps you grow a lot more faster than if you were living a continuous life in America. So next we're going to talk about my life trajectory and how I've kind of gotten where I am. So because of shows like Criminal Minds and The Good Doctor, if you guys watch them, I decided to become a neurosurgeon, and I decided to attend Texas Tech because my mom attended Texas Tech. I chose my concentrations ADRS, HDFS, health professions, and my minor in biology because I wanted to be able to understand my patients, but also have the scientific background of a pre-med student. Right now, as we're going through the spread of COVID-19, well, I guess right now we're starting to open back up, but going through this whole COVID-19 business has kind of opened my eyes to see how important nurses, doctors, MAs, and everybody else is, like in the medical field, because they're the ones who are risking their life every day and fighting this virus as hard as possible. And now I take my future aspiration as serious than ever. So I just want to say it's very important. These concentrations help me tailor my medical treatment to the patient's life experience and show other doctors that it's not just about money, but it's about giving the patients the best experience that they can, because ultimately if they're coming to the hospital, something's wrong. So you want to be able to give them the best experience. You want to be able to make them happy. You want to be able to treat whatever's going on, and you want to make sure you're understanding what they're going through before they come into the door rather than after you read their charts. So according to Bateson, continuity shares some common ground with discontinuity. You can't have one without the other. So basically, you can't have one without the other. Continuity aids the transfer of knowledge from one problem to another. And it provides a false sense of security in a world where events are very unpredictable. So I'm going to kind of elaborate on those three. It shares some common ground with this continuity because there's always going to be discontinuous events in your life, but most of them share a common theme. Like, for example, I decided to have concentrations in 3 completely different areas, but they still have the continuity of me being a pre-med student and trying to help my patients. Everything that I do is for that one purpose, so it's focused, but it seems like it's not because I'm getting a variety of knowledges, which is the discontinuity. Continuity aids the transfer of knowledge from one problem to another, which means if you know something from, like when you're 6, you know not to touch the stove because it's hot. And that never changes. So when you get older and you see a furnace, you know to touch it because it's hot. So you understand subjects based off of knowledge that you already had before. And it provides a false sense of security in a world where events are unpredictable. So people working a 9 to 5 are used to getting up, getting dressed, doing this and doing that. COVID-19 threw that all out of whack. So it was very hard for people to get back on schedule with their work, especially because they're at home and it's totally different getting up rather than having to get up and go to work. So continuity gives you a false sense of security. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get at when I talk about that. In correspondence to Bateson's description of continuity, I believe that I fully embrace discontinuity. I also need some work sometimes. It's like, obviously, no one's perfect. But I believe that because of my past experiences, like never having a continuous lifestyle as a child, everything was always changing. I was able to embrace discontinuity, find new friends, experience new things and stuff like that. So I just believe that maybe I'm a little bit better prepared than people who really have just been living in the same place their whole life. So next we're going to talk about the connection of the past to the future, well, past to the present. And I'm going to talk about this in an analogy of threads because every thread is going to weave my future. So first we have the thread of mental illness, which comes from my dad's disabled status. My dad was labeled as disabled because he had medical issues with his knees, and he also had PTSD when he got out of the Army. And growing up, I didn't really understand what was going on, but now I definitely understand after all these classes how his mental state can be compromised sometimes when he can be triggered. So I need to be able to watch out for that. Next, I have the thread of inspiration. Like I said, when my mother had me, she stopped going to college. She didn't go to college when she first had me. But growing up, I was able to watch her go back to school, get her degree, attend Kaplan nursing school, and it's been a pretty good experience. I got to watch her graduate, and I was just me being so proud of her. She used to work in a trauma ward, and now she works at a pediatrics clinic, and I am just so proud of her. And she's inspired me to care more about school than anything. So that's just kind of what my thread of inspiration is. Next, we have this thread of enjoyment. In high school, my favorite subject was biology. I loved biology with all of my heart. You could not tear me with biology. And it probably sounds weird because most people are like, you like to dissect pigs, you like to dissect cats, and you like to look at microscopes. But I find it so interesting, and it's just been one of the subjects that I'll take 1,000 times over and still never be bored. Next, I have the thread of helping others. In high school, I was given the opportunity to volunteer at Notre Dame School of Dallas, which is a school for kids who suffer from Down syndrome and autism. And being able to see those kids live a day-to-day life and experience life different each time, it's been very eye-opening, and it was actually like a great experience. It wasn't full of pity, it wasn't full of sadness, it was just watching them live their day-to-day life. And honestly, it was just so much fun being able to see them and able to help them learn. So that's kind of where I got my thread of helping others. And lastly, I have the thread of understanding addiction. Last semester was my first semester at Texas Tech. Um, and I went through my first NDRS class. And I absolutely loved it. Like, you could not tear me away from that class. That class was amazing. That class was the best class last semester, period. I took it with Professor Tuliao, and I absolutely loved it. I loved understanding what people were going through when they were experiencing addiction. I love learning about the history of addiction and things like that. And I felt like it was just so interesting, and that's something that I would love to look into later in life. So lastly, we have continuity. So throughout my life, I believe that these threads have been leading me to help others by being a doctor or a medical professional. While these experiences are completely different, this is the discontinuity of the experiences, they weave the tapestry of my life together, which is me wanting to be a doctor. So that's the continuity. My major and my concentrations and my minor help me understand things larger than the issue of cells. It helps me understand people. Being an interdisciplinarian and understanding multiple facets of an issue will aid my career and create a better experience for my patients, which is ultimately what I would like to do as an interdisciplinarian. So that's the end of my presentation. Here are my references. Well, I only reference Bateman's article because the rest of the stuff I just kind of learned over time. But I really enjoyed making this project. I enjoyed learning more about myself, and I hopefully that you guys enjoyed it too. Thank you.